Okay, another skill in the arsenal bag for you as a host, MC, as a podcaster, as a vlogger, whatever it is you're doing on a one-to-one level is you're going to be having a conversation, an interview, right? And you should have a specific goal when creating content to essentially be the type of conversationalist that knows there's a fly on the wall behind you, listening in on a conversation they're not supposed to hear. That's a golden opportunity. That's what people are really looking for. And because podcasting is such an intimate medium, that's really the best metaphor to keep in mind at all times. My mentor and client, Cal Fussman, he spoke at an organization, which is also my client, Entrepreneurs Organization. I do the podcast editing for them. And in the past, I've worked with many, and now it's whittled down to something else as I've moved on with other things. But I love everyone I've ever met in EO, and it's because of them and hiring Cal Fussman to speak at this event that I was able to hear Cal Fussman talk about how you have to aim for the heart, right? The questions you ask your guest will determine the quality of their responses. And if you make them throw their guard up immediately by asking them very standardized questions, I've worked with a lot of shows where they ask the same questions every time. Even sometimes they switch up the order, but it just leads to these rote answers. You look at any interview with celebrities, and they all say the same thing. Wow, this was different because it's usually the same thing. Who, what, where, when. So you got to aim for the heart first, as Cal Fussman said, and think of questions. And I believe these are the questions he gave. Why is your best friend your best friend? I believe. What is the best lesson you ever learned from your parents? Right? The things of like those questions may be a little personal if we think back to the other video with the Stop I'm You and realize that that's the difference between content and documentation. Documents it all. Let the tape run, right? Let it record, but then you can start the podcast at some point. What I'm trying to get at though is you have to aim for the heart, and I believe another thing that Cal says in his talk is about how Mikhail Gorbachev, when he was interviewing him, he was talking about how he noticed he had the ice cream, and he said, "Oh wow, do you always eat ice cream before an interview?" And it opened up the opportunity where Mikhail Gorbachev talked about, "Oh, actually, when I'm in this part of town, I stop by because my father used to bring me out here," and that creates an entirely different tone than great to see you. Let me pull out my questions and let me know when you're ready, and I'll ask you a couple of these, and then maybe we could. Do you see how that sets a different tone? And at the end of the day, if you want your podcast, especially if it's an interview-based podcast, you're going to want to set the tone where you get people to really reveal things. Again, the fly on the wall experience, where somebody gets to hear that and go, wow, I'm pretty sure I wasn't supposed to hear that. That's what people want from a podcast. So that's the most important thing. And then, again, to just reiterate, don't bring your notes into it. Allow the moment itself to inform you. If you did your research, whether it was minimal or very detailed, you've got to let go of that and trust that when you need it, it'll arrive. It will arrive. And just allow the moment to inform you, which comes back to good listening. Because with good listening, you'll be able to gauge where somebody's at, and you'll be able to naturally push the boundaries of the conversation